Hello, welcome to Big Talk on Global TV. Global TV is on DSTV channel 5 and times 276. My name is Topsy Gimba. Big Talk is a program that comes to you every day, 7 o'clock to 8, where we look into national issues. We discuss them. The program gives us that opportunity as well to invite personalities to be with us in the studio to analyze topics that will be discussed on any edition. This edition this evening I consider a very great one, which I believe that most people who are watching us will go home with something important by the time they have ended watching us. Indeed, we all know that Nigeria as a country is gradually ticking towards general election. Second by second, minute by minute, day by day, week by week, and then month. Very soon, we shall be ending this year 2025, then we join 2026, and we'll be celebrating Nigeria. And then by the time we end May Day, in 29th May 2026, political parties thinking of will go out for campaign. But before then, we realize that the way it is right now, politicians are already ganking up among themselves, pulling out from ruling parties or pulling from non-ruling parties to join the ruling party, just in a way, adjusting themselves to get the best they want. It is on that note that Global TV decided to go out to look for the analysts who will tell us basically what this coalition stands for 2027. And how with me live and direct in the studio, a respected person who I watch him and read him on the newspapers in the presence of Joshua Kingsley. He is political analyst. It's a pleasure having you on Global TV Big Talk this evening, Joshua Kingsley.
Yeah, Gimba, we've known each other for a long time. Thank you for having me. Nigerians, and wherever you are watching from, it's a pleasure being around here today.
Thank you so much, Kingsley. From the prologue, you understand clearly that indeed we are talking about politics.
2027.
2027. You agree with me that many people have begun forming coalitions, moving from a ruling party to join another party, or coming up with new political parties and then making INEC to register them, so that at the end of the day, they all have a mindset that when election comes in 2027, they are likely to make headway by becoming our leaders that will govern us again for another set of 4 years. Is that your view?
Of course, that's what politics is about. People looking for opportunity to make a statement. It happened in 2013, 2014, when the APC, or rather the CPC, the Congress for Progressive Change, the various political parties that formed the APC came together and they felt that, listen, PDP has been in power for 16 years and they have tried to pull out PDP from power, as individual opposition parties. They didn't succeed. And they felt if one party couldn't do it, why not we join forces and see how far we can go with it? They did that. They succeeded. And President Goodluck Jonathan, a great Democrat, handed over to Buhari. I think that should be in 2013 or so, handed over to Buhari.
2015.
2015, yes, thank you. Handed over to Buhari. So if APC could come together as a coalition, to take over from where PDP stopped, what stopped any other political party from doing the same? It's about interest. They have brought a handful of persons have come together, some from the APC themselves, somebody like former Kaduna State Governor, Malam Nasser El-Rufai from the APC, and then you have Atiku from the PDP, you have Peter Obi from Labour Party. It's a marriage of interests, persons of interest. So how far they go, time will tell. But it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, if you look at the characters involved, if you make comparison like the way you did PDP then until APC formed its own coalition and to be able to raise power and receive power from PDP when Jonathan then was the president. Do you bother to check the character of these individuals by comparing Jonathan with the man now in power?
Comparing him in what way?
In the sense that whether or not if what we are seeing can best be suited to what we saw in 2015.
I have always maintained that Jonathan is a Democrat par excellence. With due respect to him, he he sees Nigeria bigger than the interest of any person. And he said that categorically, that nobody's political ambition is worth the blood of any Nigerian. In other words, that C-type syndrome wasn't pronounced in Jonathan. Buhari has come from the APC and has done 8 years and gone. Tinubu has come, and his administration, of course, claimed to have initiated certain reforms. And they keep saying, of course, that these reforms are bearing positive fruits. Where these positive fruits are still remains to be seen. Because as far as the ordinary man is concerned, the positive fruits of any government policy should translate to food on the table, should translate to the disposable income, should translate to the betterment of the family and what have you. So whether Tinubu come 2027, if Nigerians decide to say, okay, Mr. Tinubu or President Tinubu, as the case may be, we would like to try another person, whether he will allow the mandate of the people to prevail, going by recent electoral dramas we have seen. We saw the 2023 elections and how so many persons, raised queries over those elections. Whether that will happen in comparison to Jonathan, who allowed that to happen, that's another kettle of fish altogether. But politically speaking, Jonathan has a principle. Is patriotic. I wouldn't say more patriotic, but his sense of patriotism, as far as Tinubu is concerned, will be compared come 2027. We are not there yet. Yeah. Well, the election of 2027. Really. Well, the indications may be there, but in what context? Is it in the context of free speech? For what happened in 2023 election, regardless of how anybody tries to paint it, still leaves a sour taste in the mouth, because we felt that we were making progress, election-wise, having amended the election to include components like the beavers and the IRF, and we felt that electronic transmission of election results would be the order of the day, and instead of the various from this and that being commuted manually, we felt that when people cast their votes at the ballots, the polling centers, that it will be collated and the results will be displayed. Real-time display. Unfortunately, it happened when the election for the legislators came, it happened. But when you got to the presidency, when you got to the presidential election, a new terminology came up, and we started hearing things like technical glitch. We hope, and this is talking about what you said are the signs. We hope that it doesn't repeat itself. If it does, then we begin to compare President Goodluck Jonathan and President Bola Tinubu in terms of democratic personality.
My concern, chiefly, is the number of people who at one point in time played a very key role when Buhari was in government. They participated in the governance. But as soon as he left and Tinubu came on board, it has just lasted barely 2 years in governance. They have already started complaining that the government is bad, the government is this, the policies are harsh, And when you take into cognizance, like having close observation to certain things that are really happening, and then looking at how it used to be when Buhari was in government, and then the government with just 2 years, and they are complaining to an extent some of them actively participated to form this party, complaining and even leaving. You can imagine if you will continue to about 8 years, one then would they be saying?
Politicians will always find a reason to lament if things don't go their way. For instance, Malam Nasser El-Rufai, North State, the former of the assumption in his own group was that he was going to become a minister. At least that was what we knew in public space, that he was going to become a minister. Now, he turned out he became aggrieved, either because he wasn't carried along or whatever it is. When you go deeper into the political cycle, oftentimes the cause of grievance is because they are not, most of these guys making the noise who at one point or the other had a bite at the pie, but are currently making the noise. The noise is because they don't have that bite on the pie anymore.
And that's why they're fighting the government.
Mostly not because of Nigerians.
It could be deduced as if the government is not bad then. Is that what you're trying to say?
No. The government the government is not bad. It's just the policies that are harsh. The government inherited certain problems, of course. Not speaking for them, but the government inherited certain problems like insecurity. And we had expected that, given what if we felt that he, more so, the issue is that I have always said, for a person who said it was his turn to, assume that position, we thought that he had crossed his T's and dotted his I's and had the magic wand to Nigeria's problems. So we were surprised that he came on board, and then he's now struggling with issues like insecurity. It's 2 years since he came on board. We still have pockets of insurrections here and there.
It's even renewed.
It's
in the higher dimension.
I believe there's a political angle to this. I do believe there's a political angle to this. However, we commend the military for the effort they have made, but there is room for much improvements so that Nigerians can feel secured. Increasingly, the other day we heard of another attack in Kogi State, a sister state to Abuja. We heard of attack in Kogi. We've heard of attack in Niger State. We have attacks here and there.
Even the Sokoto of recent, that should be is on papers, where people were fleeing from these bandits and then got drowned in a river.
In rivers, So we were hoping that the administration, and unfortunately, you see, the bane of Nigeria politics I have always maintained is the proclivity to nepotism. You don't tell me that you came on board and, yes, granted that you needed to secure your seat as a leader, but there are minds cut across the country who you could work with. When you have a situation in which most of the security heads, just like in Buhari's case, and without apology to Buhari, most of the security heads are from one section of the country. You then begin to wonder where that cross-fertilization of ideas and culture will come into be. And that is what I believe is one of the major problems.
Can I be seen that there was an agenda to achieve by doing that?
What agenda could that be other than
otherwise, why would a particular section be made to be service chiefs?
If you look at it's a carryover from the military era. That is one. And then two, the sense of insecurity that has resulted from the increased polarization of Nigerians along ethnic and religious lines.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that lack of trust for persons from other parts of the country to hold certain positions. For instance, Mr. A is the president. He comes from ethnic group A. He feels that he needs to get his people, surround himself with his people as service chiefs to protect his position, not to sell him out, and all whatnot. And also it's a lesson from what is a takeaway from Goodluck experience. Goodluck recently came out to say that he was betrayed. On different fronts, we saw that he was betrayed. So these persons, starting from Buhari, have picked a lesson to get people who are answerable to them. Unfortunately, it's not yielding the right results that we hope it will yield. So the entire arrangement ahead of 2027 is something that needs to be reviewed. Whether the president has performed well and why his sympathizers have started campaigning so early, subtle campaign for him so early, it beggars questions. What are they afraid of? Isn't it too early? 2 years into a 4-year term, you're already campaigning. What are the indices for campaign?
Or those against him.
Whatever it is, what are the indices?
It's a two-way thing.
Yes. What are the indices?
Like I was about to ask you, which I would, this coalition that some of them are really forming, to me, I see it like as a coalition of pride of lions or a group of hyenas who probably felt a little bit uncomfortable at a point in time. Don't forget that the reforms that the present administration is introducing in this country are never done before. You cover National Assembly.
Well, like what?
Like the tax reforms, which is intended to
harmonize
regulate, and regulate how money is supposed to be expended, depending where the source of the money is coming from, which is quite very good. And probably the appointments that this administration must have really done, some are a little bit uncomfortable, or maybe those who have actively been involving in the oil business for long, having wells and things like that, and this present administration has come and reset the direction, and they are losing out. So it is important for them, or they will feel, let them gang up like lions could do to attack a prey, or either dangerous hyenas.
That's the point.
Yeah, doing that. Otherwise, I'm yet to see reason as to why just 4 years in a 4-year term, 2 years in a 4-year term, people are already saying that the government is really bad. So I'm a little bit concerned. Would there be anything far more than what this government is doing if they were given the opportunity, if they will be given the opportunity to speak going 2027? That's the question. Would there be anything different that they will ever do? Because if you are to use history, looking at the way Nigeria has been all along, like the way Buhari campaigned, who we felt who we felt probably was going to be a righteous man, and many things would be falling like manna from heaven. At the end, it didn't turn out to be until he finished 4 years, and again, still campaign, and we felt maybe he was going to lose the 2019 election. We felt he was going to lose it out. Still, he won, and the things went like the way they went before. So if somebody comes and tells me that this regime is not doing much, and he wants us to vote this regime out, when you look back into history, by craning your neck into the records of the past, would there be anything different that will happen by the time they give the power?
It depends on who the person is.
Now, who are those ones that you see right now in the room?
Well, at the risk of campaigning for somebody.
I'm not saying you should campaign for anybody.
Yes.
But the congregation of this politician in a particular room,
you look at it from this direction. You see, government is a continuous process. The lives of El-Rufai has been tested. In Kaduna, as FCT minister, he has been tested. We know his deficiencies in Kaduna, and perhaps that's conversation for another day. The lives of Atiku has been tested. We know how far he has gone as VP, as the man in charge of the Bureau for Public Enterprises, as the man in charge of the privatization business under Obasanjo. Now, if you take away El-Rufai, you take away Atiku, who is left in the campaign train, in the chase for presidency in the ADC?
David Mark is there.
David Mark is the ADC national chairman.
And Peter Obi is equally.
Peter Obi is there.
Yeah. Has he left Labour in the first place? You don't.
Well, he's neither here nor there.
Okay, he lingers.
I think he's one leg here, one leg there. But the point being made now is, every politician will come to tell you, I can provide solution to the problem. The question is, what politician has an articulated concept to lead Nigeria out of the wood it finds itself? The challenge this current administration has, which I have always maintained, is Mr. President's infamous remarks at Eagle Square on the day of his swearing in, that he boldly declared he was going to remove fuel subsidy. The removal of fuel subsidy was good, but that declaration set a lot of things in motion. And unfortunately, there were no measures to cushion the effects. Now, going back to your question, in answer to your question directly, who exactly among them do we think can provide the solution we are looking forward to? I have just listed 3 persons. Take away El-Rufai, who we have tested, who know his deficiencies. For me, I believe that his current remarks and move against the current administration
in the state or at the
national level, I think, I don't like to give it much thought because I think it's misplaced. I think it's born out of certain level of disaffection, towards the government. Then you look at Atiku. I would have wanted an Atiku to let go this chase for the presidency, at least for now. At least for now. Politicians are not good at respecting gentlemen agreements. Whether he chooses to say, yes, it is right, or he continues to insist that the doctrine on the rotation of the presidency is wrong, that's a different ballgame entirely. But we have a Buhari that has spent 8 years. Here is a Tinubu that has 4 years to run. He has only done 2. And most likely, of course, he will go for the second term, which is another 4 years. Meaning that the South has the opportunity to run for 4 years. Now, if anybody, for any reason, will be thinking of replacing Tinubu, it shouldn't be somebody from the North. It will upset the system.
Are we talking about the person that will actually deliver what is expected as
no, we have gone beyond that.
No, I'm only asking this question. I'm only asking this question so that you look at it pari passu, whether it's the individual you are looking at or either you are looking at the regional level.
No, you see, in the Nigerian case, Nigerian democracy is peculiar. Peculiar so much so that in this current dispensation, you cannot consider the individual without considering the region.
And that's where we are. That's why you have brought us to where we are.
That's where we are at the moment.
Yes. Let me ask you this question, Joshua. While you are listing some of these high personality politicians who we feel at the end of the day, if anything will go by, they are the ones likely we will look forward to. You have left behind even Goodluck Jonathan. From their introduction, you painted him to be a very good politician that Nigeria has ever had as a nation. But the question here is, do you think like some of them are really campaigning or wooing him to come back to campaign against Tinubu in 2027? Do you see it's a very good move for him? And what advice will you ever give to him so that at the end of the day he does not crash? They might use him to deceive him, and like the way Bishop Kuka from Sokoto told him when he organized a kind of summit in Ghana recently, Jonathan Foundation. He said the voice of the devil is not too far from the voice of God.
Yes, I agree with you. The question I ask myself always is, who is asking Jonathan to join the fray?
You are reading those calls on social media and even the print media as well.
But who is see, behind all those CSOs calls, there are faces. Who is asking Jonathan? The idea of bringing Jonathan into the entire picture is to offset the Tinubu arrangement. Using a South against, using a southern person against a southern person. Because they understand very well, of course, that this is the turn of the South. They understand that this is the turn of the South. So how best do we get, who do we get to offset this man who hypothetically or allegedly did not carry us along? Who do we get? Peter Obi will bring another conversation. Peter Obi is unpredictable at the moment. The persons who are bringing out Jonathan have studied Jonathan. They can tell Jonathan's move from A to B. They think they can tell. Okay? But Peter Obi has not been there for them to study him. So they are skeptical about Peter Obi.
But at one time he governed a state. And the records are there, whether he did it well or not. The records are there to prove him. Yeah, but so you cannot categorically say he has not.
No, here is a thing.
Yes,
there are persons who consider themselves kingmakers when it comes to the presidency. These persons did not determine Peter Obi's place in Anambra State as governor.
I understand.
Now, coming to the presidency,
national level,
it's another drama altogether. Will they be able to rein in Peter Obi if Peter Obi becomes the president? A Peter Obi that defeated a sitting governor in the court. A Peter Obi that the State House of Assembly could not wrestle out of power. What are your chances as kingmakers to control him when he becomes the president? But Jonathan, we know. It's a case of Paul, I know. Jesus,
but democracy doesn't work. Democracy doesn't work that way, Kingsley. You should understand.
No, but you see,
I want you to understand the principles of democracy in the way they are set. The question here is, even if he's eventually elected to become the president of this country, he doesn't unilaterally carry out decisions without making reference to national assembly.
Those are the principles of democracy.
That's it.
The principles of democracy, are they being reflected into this administration? However you look at the relationship between the National Assembly and the executive.
However you see.
No, the point I am making to you is that
however you see, you will not be able to do exactly that the way you are saying.
No,
it's one thing. It's one thing to talk about the theories of a certain system than practicalizing it when it comes to implementing that.
No, but you see,
so when you see an individual, look at the mate of this country. There's nothing an individual will come on board like the way Tinubu is and to be able to satisfy us at the same time. And it takes only one person that will start criticizing and any other will buy in that situation. And I think it is the same thing that Tinubu is facing because of the way his policies are being formulated and implemented. Those who have been left behind to be not being carried along, they are the ones who are standing outside and throwing stones into the system.
Yes, that's one side of looking at it. The other side of looking at it is there are persons who feel it is within their right to sit in the villa. And if you look at the history of Nigeria, I've been trying to keep away from this side of the conversation. If you look at the history of Nigeria, for every time somebody from another extraction is in the villa as the president, these fellows are as uncomfortable as you can think of. And they will do everything within their powers. Sometimes they go extra mile to make sure that person lives. These some persons that are shouting, good luck we know, good luck we know. Were they not the same forces that came together and made sure that good luck left the villa? Mm-hmm. They were the same forces. So you can look at this from two directions. Number one, the business direction. Then number two, the political direction. And under the political direction, you can also look at it from the ethno-religious dimension. From the business direction, there are persons who is no longer business as usual for them in their preferred sector of the economy. Maybe in fuel, they no longer get what they get there. Maybe in shipping, in whatever, they no longer get what they get there. Yes, there are such persons. And they will go, just like when Dangote was floating his refinery. Forces in the oil sector, 14. But good enough, he was in the good graces of the presidency. He made it. Now, when the current current MD of the NNPC came on board, you saw the fight he had to endure.
Yeah, that's bio.
Yes. You always have these forces waiting to test your resilience, waiting to test your strength. They are there. Then you come to the ethno-religious factor. There are persons who believe, like I said earlier, it is within their powers. It is their, quote and unquote, their rights to rule the country. And if anyone who doesn't fall into that bracket gets into the villa, they will do everything they can to frustrate the person out of the villa, including maligning the person.
Although
so to that extent, I would have asked.
You didn't disclose the failures you were referring to, but generally, the hue and cries that we are beginning to see is that those calls that are coming to ensure that Jonathan should actually step in for the campaign so that at the end of the day, he raises power with the incumbent. It's cutting across all the geopolitical zones of this country. That's the way I see it.
No, Gimba, let's not mistake this for what it is. Okay, the fact is that these voices came from somewhere, And politics is about interest. As these voices came from somewhere, they don't just come dry. They come with some form of motivation. And they get people to join the alliance. Which, of course, the carrot and the stick measures are there. The perks and the benefit of joining the, as to whether those they get to join the alliance understand the grand scheme of things, it's a different ball game entirely. But Jonathan is being brought in as a spoiler, and that's my opinion.
That is it. So
he's been brought in as a spoiler, and I would advise he has earned enough respect for himself in the national and even in the international cycles. He shouldn't spoil that election. I don't see him defeating Tinubu.
They will use him a dumb here at the end of the day.
That is what it's going to be. And I hope that his advisors and those who he listens to will talk to him.
He himself is aware of this groundwork behind the scene. I remember there's this publication I read where he now said, you remember that out of those people he ever used, when then he was the government, only one person that still believes in him till today, and that's Mike Egiado. I don't know one person from Edo State like that.
They mean Mike Egiado, okay.
One name like that, sort of. That he is still the only person, when then he was in government, he remained faithful. And even after in government, he still remains faithful with him. And any other person is a betrayal. So if Jonathan is able to come up with this analogy and be able to identify by himself certain forces that work with him and went against him at a point, and then picking one individual out of the entire number of people that served under his cabinet, and that means he has actually understood the game very well. And then he needs to really study the science of time. Like I said, that of course, the Archbishop, the Bishop of Sokoto in the person of Hassan Matthew Kuka, when he went to Ghana, told him categorically that the voice of the devil is not quite too far from the voice of God. So he needs to listen carefully so that he just jumps into it and then he finds himself wallowing in a very deep sea, or swimming or drowning in a very deep sea, so to speak.
I think the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, has done for Nigeria what he could do for Nigeria. Coming back, what is he coming back to do? To fix what mess? The mess that the previous administration of APC, 8 years, created. He's only coming back to try to do a cosmetic decoration that will rubbish whatever successes he has recorded in his time in public space at the national level. He shouldn't take that bait. It's a bait that will leave him worse off. Because soon after he left government, he left the economy as, I think, the largest in Africa.
Yes.
By the time his successor was leaving, where was the economy? At what position?
Nosedived.
It nosedived abysmally. And you think he comes back now and he's not able to, what is he going to do to fix
After all,
this damage?
things are really gone haywire.
Things have gone so bad that it is in his best interest not to dare. Just continue to enjoy the global acclamation he gets. As for coming back to the current president, it is sad that he's getting the kind of negative feedback he's getting. And I think his handlers are not doing a good job. Speaking respectfully, I have studied some of the points in his Renewed Hope agenda, and I think those points mean well. But how much are these points communicated to Nigerians is one thing. Then two, where I have a major issue with the current administration is in his political appointments. The nepotism speaks louder, so loud than the sky.
Possibly he was not following a template set aside by the immediate past government.
No, I think it's not so much his fault, and that's my opinion. I think it's the fault of those who he surrounds himself with as aides and helpers. I think they are much more nepotistic than him. Okay, take for instance, a typical example will be the national television station, where the DG or the MD was pulled out and suddenly reinstated. Now, what I gathered was Mr. President wasn't aware of it. He wasn't aware that the fellow had been pulled out. And when he eventually got wind of it, he instructed that the fellow be reinstated immediately. Some of the things that happened, he's not aware.
It happened to Buhari as well too. When Buhari was in government, I remember the DG Naseni, Professor Mohammed Haruna, who served for 8 years or 5 years consecutively, making 10 or thereabout. And some people who ought to have left government at the time he ended the second time of the 5-year descent. They went and sold a dummy to the president, and then he announced it that the man will not stay again for 5 years.
Additional 5 years.
Making 15, which was totally out of the constitution. So some people had to draw the attention of the president to it. That's late Buhari, before he realized that the man has served for 10 years. And he was already sworn. He has been sworn in again for another set of 5 years. That would have been dangerous. So you see, I think that some of these individuals that you have rightly mentioned in this present administration, they sit down and study the mindset of the leader and see whether or not, just like your children will play pranks on you and they get their money, that kind of thing.
You also don't. It's like you are the MD of a large company, Nigeria being the company now, and you are to supervise. Of course, he supervises all the sectors of the economy. He has ministers, he has delegated, but the buck stops on his tables. So, at the end of the day, files are brought your way. You have tons and tons of files to attend to. It is often not easy to remember every detail in the files you have attended to before the new files are brought to you. So his handlers could smuggle in names after names.
Unknown to him.
Unknown to him that he's popularizing the entire system with persons from a given ethnic extraction. So at the end of the day, it begins to paint him more as a tribalist. Meanwhile, he's not even aware of what is going on.
But where are these voices who have suddenly realized that he's being nepotistic in nature? Where are these voices when you compare what is happening today and the way Buhari ruled?
You see, that's beautiful. I like that question. And that's why I told you that there are certain characters who believe that if someone is in the presidency and the person does not appeal to their ethnic or religious sentiments, that such person, we must do all we can to get that person out of there. There are people like that. Now, going to your question directly, between 2023, is it 2015 rather, when Buhari won as president, and up until when he left, as a matter of fact, I started thinking, is this an APC policy? Is the APC policy is it ethnocentric? I started thinking that way. But no voice from this part spoke up to say, no, this is not the way Nigeria should go. There are laws on ground. There is a federal character principle on ground that ensures that every part of the country has due representation in matters of government, in the distribution of ministerial positions. No one part of the country will boast of having more intelligent people than another part of the country. Gone are the days where you say you have more engineers from region A than region B also. But if you remember the period when Buhari was in power, virtually every sphere of our national life was populated by a certain ethnic extraction. And these fellows were mute.
To an extent, a service chief was left in government or in power for closely 6 to 7 years.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, security festers. So insecurity kept escalating far more than the way they could control.
And the president
when you now ask yourself, why would you know that the person who is on the seat with a high level of insecurity in the country, and you feel he's doing the right thing, and you keep leaving him on to that period of time? And so a template has been prepared. And so then who will you blame?
No, you see, let's not say a template has been prepared. Perpetuating injustice doesn't make it right.
But the people gain out of it.
Yes. What is a fraction of the people that gain versus the larger population?
And that's where we are.
Our interest should be the larger population. You see, I do not envy even Mr. President himself. Because regardless of the good heart he may have and the good intentions he may have, his administration is gradually being eroded by persons who will not be held accountable. So it is the president has to find, if he can find loyal persons, not sycophants, who can whisper to him. And that is if these angels that have surrounded him in form of human beings will allow such persons anywhere close to the president. But a mechanism needs to be put in place, whether from the party, the APC itself, or from friends of the president, or from friends of the APC. They need to come up with a measure of reaching and calling the president's attention to some of these things. Make him realize that you are making your government unpopular with your policies. Most of these agitations are coming up from this angle. The agitation is that he has turned the villa into a kind of tribal hegemony, I should say. He has turned the villa into such kind of thing. That is where most of these agitations are coming from. They are not coming because the man in the street cannot pay for his children's school fees. No. These people, most of them they don't care about the ordinary man in the street. They only care about what is their interest, how their interest is being protected, how they can get their interest protected. That is what they care about. Now, to that extent, the presidency has some time, ample time in his kittens to begin to make amends. It is in making amends that you appeal to people, to people's conscience in different ways. If a man comes to you and say, I am hungry, what is the best way to make him your friend? Is it by telling him that, don't worry, God will provide? God should provide through you. If that man can solve that issue of hunger through you, he will hold you in some level of esteem.
Yeah.
So if these people are agitating that, listen, Mr. President, we never believed that you were going to be. Do you know that a certain part of this country has about 4 ministers in the current cabinet, as against another part of the country that do not have 4 ministers. I'm not talking about ministers of state. I'm talking about substantive ministers. A state in this country has about 4 substantive ministers.
So let me ask you this question, Kingsley. Are you of the opinion that you should be voted out? And if that's the opinion you hold, that's your personal opinion you hold. The question here is, look at these political parties, either ADC or ADA or Labour Party. Do you see them having this popularity at the national level, that when they speak, Nigerians will actually listen? And then again, further to that is, look at the history of this country. Has there been any other person who steps into power and then he is removed because he's unpopular? I don't want you to cite Jonathan in this case, because Jonathan stayed for long. It's only that when he wanted to come back again, that they didn't allow him. But in terms of years in service, he did that. So who has ever done that you feel Tinubu to come into power just for 4-year term, and then seeking for re-election for another 4-year term that you feel he will not get it? Which person in history ever done that?
Okay, first and first, let me take your first question. Whether I think he should be voted out.
By looking at those political parties.
No, you see,
like the ADC, where some of
the ADC is
they are looking at them as
the
hyenas.
ADC is still in this. They are not hyenas. I think that is the wrong.
That's the way they are painted.
No, of course they should be painted that way by those who are in government. It's about politics. You don't allow the voice of your opponent to be louder than yours. That's what it is. Unfortunately, it's a kind of a politics of what language do I use now? It beats one's mind to begin to use such language as hyenas.
Yes.
It's a democracy.
Because they are looking at the just 2 years and they are ganking up to unseat him.
When do you expect them to gang up? On the eve of election?
I wouldn't know.
Oh no, of course you start building now. You start building now. You start aggregating consensus. You start getting people to believe in what you believe in. You start making people see your perspective, why they should give you a chance to implement what you think you have in mind for the country. I think they are on course. The time is not too early, neither is it too late. It will be counterproductive if they had started gathering later than now, because there are a lot of consensus building across the bridges that have to be made.
They ask yourself whether or not they are strong enough.
It's a process. It's a work in progress. How do you determine strength?
The characters that are inside.
What is wrong with the characters? Are the current persons in power? Do they have better characters than them?
If you check the president as he is well known in the Nigerian history books as an activist who fought military.
This is the same president.
I'm only trying to tell you who his mate is.
No, hear me.
Yeah, because he's known. His name has been there for long in the political scene of this country. And so if anybody that's coming to unseat him requires to be well known, is it the likes of El-Rufai or either Obi?
Atiku's name is well known.
Because look at the way El-Rufai then when INEC organizes off-cycle elections in across 12 states for 16 words, he himself personally went out to campaign for his candidate under Social Democratic Party and made statements that they will definitely win. But at the end of the day, it's just a little test for those people who are making this noise.
Let's take El-Rufai out of this.
Now I'm only trying to tell you,
yes,
he's one of the front runner of the critics against this government.
There's nobody in today's administration that is more qualified for the presidency than any of these fellows any of these storms gathering in the ADC. They are as qualified as even the president himself. Peter Obi was one-time governor. Tinubu was a governor. Peter Obi was a governor in Anambra State. Tinubu was a governor in Lagos State.
He has followership.
That's another conversation.
Yes, I just want to know.
Peter Obi has followership. Remember the obedient movement. And that is the strongest.
Is it the same thing now?
Absolutely. Peter Obi's, for the sake of what it is, you monitored the 2023 election.
Indeed.
You saw the impact Peter Obi made. I want to respect INEC and her figures that she announced. But we also saw the impact Peter Obi made. Now let me answer your question directly so that I don't derail. Should Tinubu be voted out of office? How do you answer such questions? Just 2 years into power.
Because I'm looking at the formation of political parties and coalitions that are really going on.
It is necessary.
And the criticism that we read on newspapers on daily basis. Even today's newspapers, they have a lot of information concerning him that is not doing well.
Of course, that is what it is. See, when you want to sell a product, there are two products that are competing for space in the market on the shelf. Okay? As media handlers and support groups are not doing good enough job. On his lies the head that wears the crown. Take for instance, when Tinubu was governor of Lagos State, he galvanized the then state governors against Obasanjo imposing tax on petroleum products. He galvanized them against that. But today, Tinubu is thinking that same way. When Goodluck was president, Tinubu and his co-travelers protested against attempt to remove subsidy on petroleum. But today, Tinubu is president, and he has removed subsidy on petroleum. So you never you wouldn't get the entire picture
it
until
appears
you get into office.
As if we are the ones suffering. They deceive us to get what they want. Is that what you're saying?
That is just what it is. If you call it deceit, well, on the one hand, I think they feed us with half truth.
You know Machiavelli, the prince. Yeah, where he said, that's Machiavelli, Niccolo Machiavelli, who ruled Rome at a point, who said use lies to move a group of people from point A to point B. If, for instance, you tell them the truth and they don't, use lies. If lies can help to move them, do that. And then again, try to be as fair as a fox. By a fox goes to the river using his own tail to suck water and then be watching the outside to avoid being attacked by enemies. And then you can use all sorts of manner of things just to ensure that you achieve your aim. Is that what they have been doing to us?
We don't know. Even the Tinubu himself, I think recently he owned up to the fact that you wouldn't know what is involved in this until you get into office. Respectfully speaking, I have seen some of his programs, and I think he has a roadmap to where he's going to. The challenge are two things to my mind. The first one is the issue of communication. Either his handlers are not doing the right job, they are not doing their job effectively, not that they are not doing the right job, or there is no enough budgetary provision and the conducive environment, the necessary machinery for them to do the job. That is one. Then secondly, the beginning of these programs, of these programs he initiated, of course he did warn the population that it's going to be tough. He said it's going to be tough, but at the end of the day, we will reap the benefits from it. The tough side is what we are seeing. I would rather hope that he should make it quick.
Okay.
In the remaining 2 years, the balance of the 2 years he has, he should make it quick so that Nigeria, he could use the good fortunes that will come from the result of his programs and policies and his reform. He could use that good fortune on the one hand, turn the minds of Nigerians towards him, and then shut up his opponents.
It's all right. I really enjoyed talking with you, Joshua Kingsley,
thank you,
political analyst, which I never give a space to really have a deep breath and then continue.
It's always a pleasure, being around you.
Yeah, sure. I like that.
Yeah,
you are massive. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Okay, that's how far we can go on the program Big Talk. This edition, like I said, I'm sitting in for my colleague Obon Usoro, who is unavailable. Accent, we shall be doing that tomorrow with yet another personality. Do stay out of trouble. We are leaving the studio. My name is Topsy Gimba. See you again, and bye-bye.